Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Becca's Backyard. I am here up at my new house in my new backyard, and I am ready to share my inside thoughts outside with you. It was a beautiful, our first winter storm. As you can see in the background, I'm sorry, it's kind of bright, I'm kind of dark, but that's what happens in Colorado when we get a huge snowstorm. The next day we get the amazing Colorado sunshine and the blue sky. And then it makes it near impossible to see. So sorry guys, I did the best that I could. But I didn't want to not film this week, of course, and I wanted to film right now in particular because I actually got out of the shower not too long ago, and that's kind of when I spend my time thinking about my week, and sort of it's my time alone, right? It's sort of like mini meditation, I guess, when you take a shower. And so I guess I kind of came out ready to talk to you guys and tell you kind of what was going on with me. I had a list of stuff. I have an ongoing list of stuff, of things that I want to talk to you guys about, but then life happens. And I'm like, wait, this is way more important than whatever I wrote on my list, which will eventually be a really good idea. Maybe I should write it as a blog. But I'm loving that these videos are my present. This is my way to be here now, I guess. This is my present, and I'm sort of sharing my present with you, which I can't do in writing, because by the time it gets to you, it's my past. So in any case, enough philosophical stuff. I'm really actually underneath all of this, really pissed off actually this week. I really don't want to talk in too many details because it of course doesn't just involve me, and so I won't. I'm going to talk about my side of it and what I've been going through, I guess, on my side of all of it. So as you know, I just bought this house, which was this epic, huge life win. And it was like, I mean, I can't even tell you what it represents. I mean, getting married was really important to me, and that I feel like happened just because it did. It wasn't something that I dreamed of my whole life. But buying a house and owning my own home is definitely something I have dreamed about my whole life, especially as a little girl growing up in a tiny apartment in Queens. I very much wanted a backyard. So, yeah. It should have been one of the most joyful experiences of my life. And you know, there are moments in your life, I think, that belong to you. They're your joy. And if other people are involved, or you're letting them into that joy in any kind of way, shape, or form, you know, it's their job to support your joy in that moment, because there are very few moments that you're allowed to be selfish, but those moments of pure joy are supposed to be those. So when people talk about their dream weddings and that day, as far as I'm concerned, even though a dream wedding isn't something I ever want or need to be at or any of those things, if someone that I feign to care about in any kind of way, shape, or form wants that to be their special day and it's their joy, it is absolutely outside of any power that I have, and any kind of morals, definitely, that I have, to stomp on their joy. To make it difficult for them, to refuse to participate in something that they want to be important, to give them a hard time on a day that's incredibly stressful for them. You know, that would be, I think, the worst thing you can do for someone. I think there are very few times in your life when it's actual pure joy. So for me, this was one of those times. Unfortunately, at the same time that this wonderful, amazing thing was happening to me, I was yet again at the ripe old age of 42, and still very much autistic, being taken advantage of once again by neurotypicals. And is often the case. It's usually neurotypicals with some kind of power, which means either they have a job or a reputation or a career or a book or money. They have power, and it's an abuse of power. It's kind of I've sort of, that's the way I view it. And some people call it, the term I'm loving these days. You know, we talk about ableism a lot. I think that's the one Walter. We've got some crows coming by, and that's Walter letting them know not on his house. In any case, so I don't even remember what I was talking about. That's terrible. Walter. Anyway, so let's see if I can get back to that thought somewhere. Okay, so having joy stolen by people in power, most often for me, as I'm looking back on my life, and apparently as I continue to move forward in life, it seems to be neurotypicals. And I have always, 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 always said, we can't move forward with the us versus them attitude. We can't move forward unless we become a we, right? I was talking about the most recent term that I've heard for what it's called. I've heard from Christy Patton Koenig. I think she's a fantastic. She happens to be neurotypical occupational therapy chair over at NYU, but she is amazing, and she does some work with Stephen Shore, and they are calling it neurotypical bias. And I think that is a genius way to describe this thing. And I guess it's nicer than accusing someone of being an ableist. But that's really what we're saying, right? It's all the same thing. And when we're saying someone's an ableist, it's like saying, at least for us in our community, I feel, so please, no angry hate mail, hate mail, I feel it's like making a racist comment. You should be ashamed, appalled, and sort of mortified that you've done anything ableist and be going out of your way to be not doing that. But what does all of that have to do with stealing joy, right? Okay, well, as autistics, we know that our thinking is most often very black and white. Things are either good or bad. We either like people or we don't like people. We'll eat that, we won't eat that, period, right? All of those defining characteristics that we have, which I was always told was being opinionated. But, it's what we have, preferences, strong preferences, right? So when you're dealing with what I like to call a gray day, which is sort of a crappy day when your life is otherwise going amazing, or a crappy situation, right? It's sort of a great week I actually had, right? It's trying to look at my life and remember that even when it felt like I got punched in the gut and set on fire this week. My soul. I really feel like I sold my soul a little bit over the past couple of weeks. Anyway, but that's beside the point. So when that happens, it's a re-up of trauma for me every time. It's a re-up. It's a how did you not learn? How did you not know? Right? And I'm trying to remember that when those things happen, it doesn't mean that my entire life has gone to poop. Right? Trying to stay safe at work. It doesn't mean that. It means that I'm having a bad situation, right? Or I'm having a bad whatever. But it doesn't mean that everything else in my life is horrible. And I think that's the way I used to look at it. A bad day meant everything's bad. And what I'm trying to remember is that it doesn't have to be quite so black and white, and it doesn't have to be like that. Sometimes it's outright gray for whatever reason. Like buying the house of your dreams, putting down your life savings, doing the scariest thing you've ever done, and then being punched in the gut and feeling like you sold your soul. Right? At the same time. I can't believe I'm laughing about it, but what else am I supposed to do? But that's what I've been struggling with. And in all of that is this idea of having my joy stolen. Like, who were these people to steal the joy of this moment for me? From us, because whenever I struggle with anything, my whole crew struggles with me. I don't want to do things. I'm angry. I'm short-tempered. I'm at meltdown like at any second. And for me, I have my triggers, and I think, this particular incident, it was, involving work and everything, so it ultimately always comes back to money. And I think for me, money is a trigger. It's something that people held over my head my whole life. I don't come from money. I've been working since I was 16. Single mom raised me. And, I've always known about budgets and how much things cost and being worried about those things and all of that stuff. And it's something that I was always intimidated by people, I think, for whom either I didn't have enough money for them or they had so much money that I found it intimidating, that I wasn't good enough to be in their presence. Well, I'm proud to say that even though I did run into exactly that kind of trigger this time around, I really handled it totally different. And Janine, if you're watching this, girl, way to call out the old words, way to say, yes, your old words, right? I'm fresh and new and flourish, but that doesn't mean that my lessons from float go away. So thanks for calling me out of my own BS, Janine. Anyway, but yeah, so I had to like check myself, right? It's that moment of wait, mindfulness. I'm in myself. I'm going to just say, hey, you guys, no, not okay. My boundary has been crossed. My lines have been crossed. I don't like how I'm feeling inside, and my gut is saying you're dangerous, right? So that's what this whole week has been about. It's been about saying, hey, yes, my joy is stolen, and I could be angry and resentful and bitter about all of that. But instead, I could think about all of the other opportunities that have come my way this year, and that I'm sitting in my dream house. And remember that just one or two or a few people who are really, just crappy people don't get to take your entire life and make it black, right? They don't get to do that. Maybe they get to gray it up for a little bit, but they don't get to steal your joy. And someone who steals your joy, by the way, this is my last warning, and this is a very long video, I'm sorry. Somebody who steals your joy, that's a red flag. If somebody steals your joy on any occasion, big or small, that is a huge red flag that you should be watching out for that person. Sorry, bird. And, that's what toxic people do. Toxic people steal joy, and they gaslight. So those are your red flags. And unfortunately for me, they were super well hidden this time around. And so I really got kicked in the gut. But I remembered all the old lessons, and I remembered not to kind of crap the bed, right, about the whole situation. And that was a big win for me. So joy stolen, but happiness overall, right? Because joy is momentary. Happiness overall still there. Wholly intact, wholly still proud of myself, and fully and complete in who I am. And know that I did all I could to be the best me possible, regardless of the situation. So I guess what I'm leaving you today with is, A, don't let people steal your joy. They're toxic. Boot them out of your life. Look for your red flags, I guess. And, man, watch out for the gray days. Don't let them sink you. They do. They're going to come around, but they're just gray. They're not black. Sorry for such a serious video this week, but I hope you guys dig it. At least you got a cool view. All right, I'll speak to you guys next week. Have an amazing one.